G'day, AJ Mahari here, and welcome to my new website, which is really a website about narcissism. Narcissism in culture, narcissism kind of just out there, what the heck is it? And narcissism in narcissistic personality disorder, narcissism in borderline personality disorder, and how sometimes those two personality disorders are comorbid and go together and perhaps produce exponentially a whole lot more narcissism than might be found in each one separately. And what does that mean for somebody with NPD and BPD? And what does that mean for someone trying to relate to them, or someone who loves or cares about them? And so on this website, I'm going to be talking a lot about issues, everything coming out of the core of sort of narcissism and what it is and what it means and kind of how it affects people's lives. And I come at this from a point of, someone who's, like my father had BPD and NPD. And of course the relationship I had with somebody with BPD and NPD taught me a lot about it. But also, as a life coach, it's just incredible now the patterns I'm seeing in relationships and in the dynamics that are going on. And in fact, there are a lot of emails I get from people, thousands really, to support what I'm saying here, and the experiences of people, and also in my life coaching practice. The amount, of course not all, but there are many relationships where, toxic kind of relational dynamics are unfolding, and a lot of pain is, being experienced by all parties in one way or another. And the thing of it is that there's often this dynamic between people with strong narcissistic tendencies or narcissistic personality disorder to get into relationships with people with borderline personality disorder, or vice versa. I really hope that I can add to the discourse, in this subject area, some compassion and some empathy. And I know that that might be hard for some of you to hear, because when I use the words compassion and empathy, I'm not in any way using them to defend, some of the really abusive and aloof, distant, punishing kinds of behavior that come out of the core of narcissism for those with NPD and BPD, or both. It's important, not to vilify the person, because there are people with these personality disorders and or strong narcissistic traits who are really people who don't know themselves, people who can't tolerate their own pain, can't cope with it, can't feel it, can't go there, can't kind of soothe it or nurture themselves, can't meet their own needs, and have a wide variety of reasons, most of which are often unbeknown to them, why they are so unhealthy, if you will, and hurtful to people that care about them. If you're someone who's being hurt by somebody with strong narcissistic traits, NPD or BPD or comorbidly both, that, it's important to kind of just remember, if you have the capacity, to be empathic and or have compassion, to keep that in mind and to keep a balance there. Now, not to sanction, somebody's poor behavior or abusive behavior or anything of the like. But I really think it's important not to vilify and not to be thinking in black and white, all or nothing ways. Human beings are human beings, and they come in all shapes and sizes, and they come in all variances of maturity levels or lack thereof, variances of physical and mental health, and skills or lack of skills. I want to talk about a lot of things having to do with that, and I am a life coach, and I do specialize in this area also. I really specialize a lot in dealing with people, life coaching people who are on the other side of personality disordered individuals, and kind of learning how to identify what's really going on in your life, and look at what your needs are, and look at maybe choices you need to make, and perhaps increase your awareness and education about some of these issues. I really believe that there's very effective ways that I can, as a life coach, support people who are in these kind of places, having to make really painful decisions and choices, and also who are in many ways not only dealing with somebody with NPD or BPD or both, and all of what that means, but also who are needing to find out what it is that so has them in these relational dynamics and what all of that means in their life. But I really want to add to what is I think, exploding conversation online and other areas, I'm sure, of life about the reality, of, I think, what is a proliferating challenge for, those with personality disorders and those who encounter them and get into relationships with them or care about them. Because I think that personality disorders and narcissism is an absolutely, they're proliferating and exploding, and I think growing exponentially, and not just because they're being more identified. I think really, we live in narcissistic culture in a narcissistic time. It's been unfolding for probably a few decades now, and probably getting worse. It's probably getting worse, not better. So we all have to learn as much as we can and be as aware as we can about narcissism and toxic relating and what all of that means, and that's kind of what I want to add my voice to. But again, as I said, I want to stress that it's really important, to anger is important sometimes, when you're in that stage, when you've been hurt, and you have to get into a healing place. Anger can be a really motivating force, but it's important not to take anger, from being hurt or treated really poorly and or abused. It's important not to take that anger and to be sort of thinking about someone in ways that vilify or dehumanize them. Because even if someone has dehumanized you at the hands of their narcissism and their inability to cope and deal with themselves or know themselves, you don't want to take yourself to that level. I mean, our humanity, our spirituality, our souls, our personhood is on the line in ways that sometimes we don't think about when we're on the other side of somebody with these personality disorders. And we don't want to kind of have to go to the levels that unfortunately they sometimes have to go to. You want to hang on to as much of yourself as you absolutely can, because this is a situation where you might well feel like you don't even know yourself anymore, or like you've already lost enough of yourself. And so maybe that's why you're having such a hard time, perhaps, trying to find your way through this challenge in your life. Please be mindful to take the best care of yourselves that you can now.